Okay. All right. Well, let's go right into it. It's almost 10, so we might as well just start and people add on. I think one of the things I want to make sure today, if you have any questions left for the first part before we, most of you haven't taken the test. So if you have anything that you would like to discuss before that, please ask questions. There's a good forum for that right now. Anybody?
No.
Well, that's good. That's not a bad sign. Huh? Things are
well, not me.
No, well, that's fine with me. The more I can count, that's good. There's no question. We'll just let people add on a little bit. And then if no questions show up on that, we'll probably first just go through the next part of the class and just published a whole bunch of stuff. Well, it's 10 o'clock. Why don't I just start sharing, huh? We don't need to wait around. They can join in when they want. So let me see, where's my sharing thing here? Safari. All right. And again, in this forum, I just want you to interrupt me. If it comes up, do not hesitate. Don't have to raise a hand, just start talking. And then we'll pick it up from there. That way, it's a little different than in the classroom because I can't see you at all. I can only see my screen, really, if I share with you my screen. So you guys see my screen? And week 3 yes. Psychology. I haven't done much grading this morning. I did some yesterday, but I've been trying to really get the next part published. So everything is up for the next portion and you guys can start. I know most of you are probably now focused on the test. I mean, that's this week. And again, make sure you reach out if you have questions. This is a good forum, but also afterwards we can meet on Zoom. That's totally fine. I want to be here to support you in this process. But let's go through the next part first, and then we'll feedback and look and see if people have questions regarding the testing material.
Should we still, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but should we still be ignoring the percentage on the grade thing? Because
yeah, I think so. I still haven't heard back from them on that front.
Okay, yeah, because I was looking, I got scared. I said, what's going on, man?
No. I know. I don't know why. I don't know why that's goofy. If you get all the points in all the assignments, you're fine.
Okay.
My goal in this class is that if you do the work and you're present, you got to get yourself an A. If you're sloppy, you don't do it. And obviously, then we got issues about it, and we got to figure out how to catch up. Most problems happen when people fall too far behind. But I want to make this class be an experiential class where you experience anatomy and your own anatomy and physiology too. And so be assured that I grade the stuff in the background. I don't look at that percentage. I mean, I do because I want to make it right because it's scary for you guys, but I haven't figured out why it is yet.
Got you. It's all good. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you're asking. Thank you much. All right. So when we now finish up with this first part, we're going to go into week 4 through week 8, I think 9 almost. Well, that's then the test. And this is now muscles and bones. So we're going to focus on the muscles and the bones. First, the skull. We start with the head. We're going to go right into the skull and then the facial muscles. And then we go back and spend a week fully on the skeletal system, the trunk, like the rib cage and the spine, and then we also the appendicular system, and that's the arms and the legs. You're going to learn all these terms as you go through it. And then after that, week 6, we go right into the muscles. We learn about muscle function. We haven't really done that when we did the tissue. So we're going to go to the tissue function of muscles. How does it work? But I think it's more relevant when we talk about it in this form, because then we go right into the muscles and describe the trunk muscles first, your core and all of that, the back muscles, the neck muscles in there. And then we spend a week on the upper extremity and spend a week on the lower extremity. So we're sort of front loading the material, and then in the end, we're slowing it down a little bit that you all can get ready for the test. During this period, I will, during the weekly previews, I add a thing where I do sort of prepare you for the tests. We do little quizzes where I put pictures up on the screen and I ask you different parts of the stuff that we were talking about in the previous week. So the way that this is set up here, pretty much same stuff: introduction, learning, applying, and then laboratory. The first introduction is just the objectives. First, we'll talk about, in this week, we'll talk about this coming week here from the materials perspective. We talk about the names of the skull, the bone, and the face stuff, the landmarks and what their significance is, like the different holes that the skull has, for example, where the spine can go up and down, etc. And then muscles of facial expressions, the smiling muscles, the frowning muscles, all of that. We go into that a little bit, and then we finish up where we talk about the muscles of chewing, the muscles of mastication. We got us, like always, questions on the topics that we lecture on, and then we have, whenever we finish something, we have a little discussion forum. So the cell model, then we'll have a discussion on that. Again, you know, if you're if you're a little slow, we're not problems with that. I'll open the part 1 assignments again for another couple of weeks, that they're not closing tomorrow because I put that in originally. Just don't fall too far behind. And the one thing, you know, that I'm trying to keep a little good eye on is the test. So we're sort of all sort of catching up with that. But if you're freaking out, just, you know, reach out and we'll discuss it. We'll figure out how we can help you. The goal line at the end of the day is that you learn the material and we get through the material also. That's why there is these deadlines. Anyway, the discussion is here. So every time we have a cell model or a health kit thing, we'll talk about it. We do not have any concept discussions anymore. Those are finished. That was just in the beginning, because now we're really just going to the nitty gritty, what is what called kind of thing. And then, but here what we have heavily is we have from what we have in the first week, we had a labeling and a coloring exercise. Now we're having them every week where we integrate the information you know, this is a picture I'll show you in a minute. It's a picture and you put the names in that I want from you. And then we always finish up with a Padlet, you know, a little question and tip thing. And so that's pretty much it. The learning outcomes and the student performances, you don't really have to worry too much about those. Those are always the same in everything. That's just kind of pro forma. They want that in the background that is complete from the, I don't know, from the state's perspective, probably. All right, when we get into the learning section here, how do you like my flashy pink stuff? Do you like that?
Yes. Yeah, I like it.
I like it too. Oh crap. Why the heck is this broken? That is not cool. Well, not all of them. I have to go look at that again. I was rushing getting this stuff done. I didn't test everything. So if something comes up like that, please, if everybody is the first one noticing, notice it, reach out and I can fix it. Videos. Hold on, I gotta make sure. So now what I tried to do, and I finally figured it out, as when you're working on the computer, as we get to the, God, why they didn't come in? That's weird. As we get to the main concepts, now I'm having them grouped that you actually have these tabs where it's not just a long list and it's completely overwhelming, where you actually now have, like, first I talk about the overview of the skeletal system, and then you have these bullet points, and then you have a picture. And then we go to the next tab, and then you have the skull stuff, the overview of the skull, and you can learn about that. And then we go into the details of the skull here, and you have pictures and then the bones. And again, these are pictures from the Open Stack book, which is the reference at the end of the chat of the week. I show you on this week. And I just bring those pictures in because they're open sources. In my booklets, I do have different pictures that illuminate it sometimes a little bit more or less, but those are not open stack pictures. But you can also Google those yourself if you want. But anyway, then that's how the lecture format is set up nowadays. And I will be working on the transcripts. These are really, really long, taking me a long, long time to do, so that I'm falling a little bit behind on those. So I'm sorry about that. But see, I go through all the different parts of the bones and we have all these pictures. So a lot of this is really a picture book approach now, where you learn terms. What is a sphenoid bone? What is a frontal bone? You learn all these things, and then they visualize. And then as an exercise, First, of course, you go through the questions, like always. We have these questions left behind where I kind of explain the material again. But then what you do is you go to the labeling and the coloring. And what you have here, you have videos where I explain the whole thing. You can print out an anatomy picture and label it from there. You can make flashcards of your own. Then the second thing I show up here are the terms. And these are all the terms that are in the lecture presented in the lecture. And then we talk about it. And then I want you to learn those terms. So those are the terms that will ultimately be on the test. So for the skull, this is the finite amount of terms I ask from you. It looks like a lot, but the list, could be like 5 times longer and we still haven't covered the whole thing. So it's like an introduction into the whole thing. And then what you do is these terms, you go and you label them. Well, you watch the video and then you can label them. And this is an annotation you can do electronically, like the first, they had that too in the first exercise, or it's the same picture as you get up here above the videos on this blue link where you can then print it out from there. And all you do, let's go to it real quick. And there we go. And again, if any of these links don't work, please text me right away so I can fix it. So see, these are just basically pictures of a skull. And so all you do is you print that out, or you annotate it, or you make your own flashcards and you just draw it. That's fine too. I don't need you to do my way. I need you to do your way that works for you to study it. And then you share that with me. And on those pictures, you label all those different terms one time. So you only have to, you label them and then you also color them. Because I want you to label and color the frontal bone, and then specifically there, I want you to label and color a couple parts, like the superciliary arches is where the eyebrows go. And so you just color there where the eyebrows are and you label them, make a line or write it right in, or however you'd like to do it, and write superciliary arches. And then between the eyebrows in the middle, right on top of the nose, that's where the glabella is. And then you do the same thing and you color that a little bit, that area, and label glabella. Because, and then when it comes to the test, ultimately what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you pictures and you label these terms that I'm going to ask you. What is this bone called? You say it's a frontal bone in the front of the skull, for example. Or what is this part called that I want to know? What is this landmark? And that would be then, for example, a superciliary arch or a glabella. Glabella is actually always on the test, so that's already a given point if you pay attention. It's kind of my little canary in the coal mine, see how many people pay attention. And it's funny, I always get a couple wrong, so maybe this is the first class I don't. So that's what you do, and then from there, hold on, let me go here. And again, if you have any questions, if I'm not clear, please just reach out and ask. No, I can't do that. And I'm just speaking and ask the question. So let me see, leave the page. Why is that not working? Okay, so from there then, once you do that integration, labeling, and coloring, I want you then, even now, I know you haven't taken test 1 yet, but I even then want you to go to the test review of test 2, because in there, just so we complete up when we get to that test, in that test review, I have a list where all the terms that we're going to study for this section are on one list, for example.
Ooh, fuck.
Right. Well, that's all right. You have them 5 weeks. I know. But that's why we're going to practice together when we come together on Mondays, Yes.
The terms, they're also in your booklets, right?
Yeah, they're all.
Okay, yeah. Okay,
yeah, those lists are actually all those pictures that I just showed you that we label, and the list is all in the booklets, if you have the booklets.
Okay, thank you.
So you just make the book and then take a picture and upload it. But also in that review, what I have is I have 4 videos that are not that long. They're like, I don't know, probably 10 minutes a piece or 8 to 10 minutes a piece. But I go through all the terms and I show them on the models that I use for the test. All right, so that's always good, and it goes chronologically. So it starts with the skull, and then it goes, and so as you work your way through the material, you can always go already to this part, this test review part, and review what I want ultimately for the testing and how I want it. And then the last thought here is a link that goes to a document that has pictures. So what happened is when COVID happened, I went up to school and took pictures and videos of everything that I want to test. And so I figured out how to try to do it on Canvas now. But I also took a lot of pictures that I don't use for the test just to have them. And these are pictures of all the models that I use on the test. So what I recommend you do is you electronically download that link or that thing and have it on a device, because then you have the pictures that are used on the test as you work your way through the material. They're not all the terms are on these pictures, because I wasn't quite thinking everything fully through for when I had to go up real quick, but most of them are. As we meet on Mondays, I also use those pictures to do some quizzing for the terms that we had the previous week and just add on, and so we get better and better at it. And I can give you as many tips as possible, because yeah, it's a long list, right? And we have to learn a whole bunch of stuff. But you know, if we make it so it's understandable, like for example, in the facial muscles, what I do is I talk about facial expressions like smiling or frowning or contempt, and then we talk about which muscles create those facial expressions. Then, you know, it becomes more relevant. It's not just a list of terms at that point. And the other thing we do in this section is, if I go back real quick, is we also do integration exercises, like I did the food label analysis, for example. What we do here now, we don't do anything in the first week 4, but because we also have to test, so there's a bunch of stuff. But then afterwards, we start with a home office ergonomic evaluation, where I want you to evaluate your workstation a little bit and look at a few things, because that has to do with, you know, how you're holding yourself with postural muscles, for example. But also a lot of us have been stuck at home working from home. And, you know, working out of the couch is not always going to work out. It feels good at first and then it hurts afterwards. And so I did something like that to integrate the information. As we go further, I think here, then a second one, we do a posture evaluation, where you look at your posture and we do a little exercise around that. Because, you know, our posture, look at that, I'm skinny there. Our posture is, you know, a problem, and so you can look at the video and we talk about it, and then I do an exercise where I show you a few exercises to do to take away tension in the neck and all of that, and we do a little bit of that. So hopefully there is stuff that, you know, is interesting, that integrates the information in a way that's not just a list of terms and you have to just learn that list, you know. Or here, the last one, this is actually, I'm most proud of this one. I made an injury prevention seminar for my patients, which is where is it here, which is orthopedic tests that don't use anything in terms of equipment, but are really, really indicative of what's going on with the movement apparatus of a person. And so I created that, and I, you know, of course, if you get pain doing it, don't do it. But we have things, I talk about the muscles a little bit and the bones and all that. And then it's like tests like a one-leg balancing test, where you can figure out, how am I doing? And then a squat test. And then I can ask, you know, what muscles hurt, versus, you know, you're just learning a list of muscles. But once you do squats and you figure, oh, these muscles are burning, then you learn also and realize, oh, these muscles are the ones that keep me up against gravity. These are important to keep alive, and I get old. I know we're all early 20s and stuff, but, you know, still. And so we're trying to integrate the information a little bit more in a way that's not just a list of terms you have to learn. And then the other thing that you always have to keep in mind as you learn this material, my tests are open book. You don't have to memorize the whole thing and then regurgitate the memorization. I much rather have you learn how to use, like if you have the booklets, how to learn to use the booklets, because a lot of people then later use them for reference texts, or make your own material that's reference material, make your own cheat sheet, so to speak, because if you do that, you really integrate the material very well. And then I do not have a problem that you lose a reference. I do not feel like you're doing anything wrong if you're doing that in my class. It's absolutely what I want from you. Okay, so I want to be clear about that. All right, so that's what the week looks like. I mean, that's what the second part looks like. The first week in the second part this week is going to be, as I said in the beginning, the skull and the facial muscles. So I want you to start working through that. And then we move forward. So the first week, there's no health kit integration. You're basically watching videos, doing questions, and labeling pictures. That's really what you're doing the first week. All right, so that's all I have to say. Now let's go back to you guys' stuff. Any questions regarding what I just talked about, or also regarding the test and the material that's still going on now?
Yeah, I have a question about test number 1.
Yes.
Does it involve the skull too, or no?
No.
Okay.
Test number 1, if we go back, I do want to make sure. Oh, wait a minute, my battery's low. Oops, got to plug in that machine here. Yeah, let me make sure I show you what I really want. Hopefully you guys all have that yet, but if not, on test 1, the review is always critical. Because on the review here, everything is spelled out that you need to know for test 1. Tutti quanti.
Okay.
What I think you should do, or should have done, hopefully, so most of you, because I've been mentioning it multiple times, but it's hard. It's hard to figure out when everybody gets everything. Is I would go there, the link, and down and print it out. That's what I would do. And then have that as my reference sheet as I take the test. And the test is multiple choice and true, false, 55 questions, I think. Some people took it already. They do pretty good. I mean, the scores so far are really good. So I'm really proud of you guys. Yeah, no, have your material organized and do the best you can. And, if you feel like you didn't do good enough, or you tank it and think, we'll figure out what to do. I want you to get used to a test taking, because it's always a little bit uncomfortable to have to take a test compared with the quiz where you can take it over and over again. But you just do the best you can, have those materials around, and as a reference, make sure you take advantage of that. And I think you'll be all right.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, if you have any questions, any concepts on those sheets, you don't have clarity, you won't talk about it, bring it up now. Text me later. We can still have some time where we meet on a Zoom in a group if you want, or I can make a video explaining them a little more. But if I don't hear, I think everything is rosy and hunky-dory and I'm doing a great job. Okay, well, if that's the case, we don't have to stay around. We can just go do our things, and you guys stay in touch with me. And this is the last week where we do the health stuff, the walking, meditation, and drinking water. And I know I haven't been texting you that many times back, but I'm always looking around and what you guys are doing. So keep checking in. Have it be one more strong week, and then we can settle that. I think this is the last week. Is that right? We did it in 2 weeks now, right?
Yeah, it says the 20th is the day that we do the reflection this Sunday. Let's do.
Good. So that was the last week. So put a strong week in, and then we'll think about if that did anything or not. Or we go like, yeah, that was just empty water drinking. But usually it has some effect after a couple, 3 weeks. All right. So stay strong on that. Reach me out in pronto. I'll try to be in touch with you guys too over that. And have a wonderful week.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Happy Valentine's Day.
Oh, yeah.
Valentine's
Thank
Day.
you.
Yeah,
Happy Valentine's
That's
Day,
right.
guys.
Bye.
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 Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, Evan. How are you doing?
Good. When I get in, you are leaving.
Huh?
I just get in. If you doing something, always forgot about this. Okay.
Yeah, you're doing good in the class.
Okay. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye. Hi, any question, anybody? All good? All right. Have a good day.